My phone vibrated. Without really looking, I unlocked the notification, figuring it was probably something silly from my sister, Danielle. Perhaps a funny picture. Possibly one of those phony, friendly messages she'd been sending more often recently. However, the instant I read the text, I felt sick. It was a screenshot of a group conversation, and right at the top her message said, "She's so clueless. She actually believes we like her. Just wait until we get what we want." My chest tightened. I quickly read the messages in the chat, filled with laughing emojis and approval from people I considered my friends. This wasn't an accident. This was evidence. My sister had been manipulating me. For ages, she'd been pretending to be nice, checking in and asking me to do things. I'd hoped perhaps that she'd changed, but I was just a pawn to her. Now I needed to figure out what they were after before I lost it completely. I pushed down the feeling of being betrayed and made my fingers move. Me. "Haha, what's this?" I wanted to see how she would respond. The typing icon popped up immediately, Danielle. "OMG, disregard that. It wasn't about you." "Just kidding, I sent it by mistake, right?" Because making fun of how she was tricking me was hilarious. My thumbs hesitated over the keyboard for a brief second, then I replied, "Me." "Oh lol, no worries. Anyways, what were you saying about the weekend? I'd love to get together." Smiling face with smiling eyes. She took the bait, Danielle. "Yes, finally. This is going to be interesting." She still thought I couldn't see the truth. Perfect, it made everything so much simpler to play this out. During that weekend, I met them at a hip cafe, pretending to be clueless. Danielle embraced me when she saw me, as if we were the best of friends. I returned the hug, allowing her to think she was succeeding. Her friends welcomed me as though nothing had happened. As if they hadn't been talking badly about me. We talked for a bit, all the meaningless chit-chat, the forced laughter until... "So, I heard you got a raise at work," Danielle stated, her eyes shining. "That's amazing. Oh, so that's what they were after, my money." I gave them a shy smile. "Oh yeah, just a small pay increase, nothing special, really." I saw the disappointment in her eyes before she quickly hid it with feigned enthusiasm. But I wasn't finished. I sighed dramatically, being dramatic. "Actually, I was thinking of investing in a business soon," I mentioned. "Maybe even buying my own place." I watched them become excited, like they had found something worth exploiting. For the next few weeks, I let them believe they were getting closer. Danielle started acting like the perfect friend. She invited me out more often, called me daily, asking about my job, my future plans, my money. "You should absolutely invest in my friend's company," she said one evening, smiling. Right. As if I would give my money to some con artist she knew, a brilliant idea indeed. I pretended to think it over, nodding as if considering it, but behind the scenes, I was securing everything. I updated all my online banking passwords. I took Danielle off my emergency contact list. I even consulted with a legal professional about adding extra safeguards to my money. Since I was severing ties, they wouldn't be getting a cent from me. One evening, Danielle asked me to a party at her friend's place. I didn't intend on going. However, while she was getting beverages, I observed her phone illuminate on the table. Usually, I wouldn't be a snoop. However, this situation, it was not ordinary. I quickly looked. Message preview, she's coming to the party, correct? Be certain she imbibes heavily. It will be simpler that way. A shiver went down my back. What in the world? I was finished with the charade. However, I needed one final move before revealing their deception. At the party, I allowed Danielle to give me a drink. I even acted as though I was taking a sip. Then I moved into another room. That's when I overheard it. "She has a considerable amount of money." One of Danielle's friends murmured, "All we have to do is get her to sign something." That was all. That was everything I needed. I returned, still holding my drink, and sat next to Danielle. And then, in plain view of everyone, I said, "So who concocted this little scheme?" Silence. Afterward, Danielle chuckled awkwardly. "What are you going on about?" I took out my phone and showed them the screenshot she sent me unintentionally. "You definitely know what I'm discussing." The color left her face, and then, predictably, her false justifications began to flow. But I was already elsewhere in my mind. The instant I departed that gathering, I felt a sense of liberation. It was like an enormous burden had been taken off my shoulders. The stifling presence of deceitful affection, calculated behavior, and all those years of lying. I understood that just leaving wasn't enough. I needed to guarantee they could never reach me again. The first thing I tackled was blocking every single one of them. Danielle, those so-called friends she had. The individuals who'd secretly mocked me while pretending to be in my corner. Poof. Afterwards, I meticulously went through all my emails, social media, and various accounts. I updated my passwords. I refreshed security questions. I wiped away every single thing connected to my sister that she could potentially reach. My finances, secured my mobile device. I changed my phone number. It wasn't simply a severing of ties. It was completely wiping her from my existence. By the time I finished, there was no way she could ever get in touch with me ever again. And that's when the phone calls from my mother began. I gazed at my phone, watching my mom's name light up the display. I knew exactly what this was about. Danielle had undoubtedly run to her, playing the injured party, telling a tale where I was the cruel, ungrateful sister who had deserted her family. I exhaled deeply and answered the call. Before I could even open my mouth, my mother's abrupt voice sliced through the phone line. "What did you do to Danielle?" I stiffened my jaw, maintaining a composed tone. "Mom, did you know what she attempted? She claims you mortified her in front of her pals, made her feel small for no reason, and now she's completely distraught. Doesn't that make you seem unbelievably cruel?" I squeezed my phone a little tighter. Naturally, Danielle left out a lot of details. "Mom," I said, taking my time, "I have evidence. She was taking advantage of me, twisting things to her advantage. She just wanted my cash, and when I wasn't cooperative, she tried to trick me into signing something while I was intoxicated. Do you understand how hazardous that behavior is?" There was quiet. For the very first time, my mom seemed unsure. Yet then, as always, she resorted to her justifications. "She's your sibling, sweetheart. Family overlooks these things." Perhaps she just... No, I stated firmly, without wavering. This isn't a simple misinterpretation, it's not a slip-up. She knew precisely what she was doing. Another moment of quiet. Then her tone softened and she became more manipulative. "You know she's having a hard time right now. Couldn't you just offer her a little assistance?" I felt a chill in my chest. That was the crux of the matter. That was the real reason my mother was reaching out. She didn't care at all about Danielle's actions. She only cared that I was financially secure and that my sister could continue to use me as a backup plan. "Goodbye, Mom." Click. For the first time in my life, I chose my own well-being and I wouldn't feel bad about it. The following day, I took an action I should have done much earlier. I got on the phone with my lawyer. "Hi, I need to ensure my money and possessions are safe from any future fraudulent behavior." She quizzed me, and as I laid out the circumstances, she didn't pause. "You have to establish legal protections," she told me. "Lock down any shared accounts, report anything suspicious, and safeguard your personal belongings." I imagined a very troubling scenario. She might try to fake documents or try to trick others to gain access to my finances. It sent a shiver up my back. I had trouble believing my sister would sink so low, but she demonstrated her true colors already. Therefore, I didn't delay. Before the day concluded, I had terminated old shared accounts, initiated fraud alerts with my banks, notified my job that nobody, not even relatives, was permitted to handle my paperwork, and submitted a legal notice that blocked any financial requests associated with my name. The whole ordeal was draining. Nevertheless, as I finally settled into bed that night, I understood one definite truth. Danielle would never be able to get to me. 3 days went by. Then, unexpectedly, an email landed in my inbox. It was from Danielle. The subject was, "I'm sorry, please call me." I just gazed at the subject line. I recognized the pattern. It was classic manipulation, the opening move. Attempt to mislead me into believing it was all a simple mistake. Next phase. If that didn't work, adopt the persona of a victim and solicit compassion. The third phase, if all else failed, turn to anger and accuse me. I clicked the email open, reading over her message. "I honestly have no idea what went wrong between us. It feels like you completely missed the point, and I really hope we could return to the kind of connection we once shared as sisters. Couldn't we get together and have a conversation? All I truly want is my sister back in my life. I do love you." My finger rested over the button to respond, but then I went back over that night in my mind. All the laughter happening in the group chat, how she attempted to make me look bad, the way she viewed me as only a source of money. And I closed the email. I left it unopened. Danielle had forfeited her right to be a part of my life. The most peculiar thing about severing ties with my sister, I anticipated feeling lonely. Surprisingly, though, I started to notice something else. The individuals who genuinely cared about me in a truly profound way were still right here. A good friend from work recognized that I seemed down. She asked me over to her place just to chat. We split a bottle of wine, and for the first time in ages, I had a real, genuine laugh. Another friend texted me, "Hey, I saw you cut ties with Danielle. I just wanted to tell you I understand. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." And then it struck me. I devoted so much time to trying to get my sister to love me, constantly striving to show I was worthy of her. And yet, all along, I already had people who loved me just as I am. I simply needed to choose them. The final text I received from Danielle arrived 2 weeks later. It was brief. It was full of resentment. "You think you're superior to me?" I stared at the display for an extended time, and then, without a moment's hesitation, I removed it. She no longer held any influence over me. It would never be the same. The morning after I erased Danielle's last text, I felt transformed upon waking. I felt less burdened, more focused. I'd been shouldering her demands, her schemes, and her love that came with strings attached for what felt like ages. But now, it was finally lifted. I poured my coffee and went out to my balcony, observing the city's awakening. For what seemed like the first time ever, I didn't feel like I had to justify my joy to anyone. But ending things with her wasn't just about deleting a phone number. It was about crafting a life of my own choosing. That involved establishing new limits. That meant opting for kindness, but only toward those who were worthy of it. And that meant I'd never, ever let someone like Danielle have a place in my life again. It wasn't a simple task. A week passed, and I got a call from my mom once more. This time she wasn't shouting, she was weeping. "Danielle is having a hard time," she quietly said. "She's in a really difficult spot. I know she caused you pain, but she's still your sister. She needs you." I held my phone tightly, taking a deep breath. The old me, the one always craving affirmation, acceptance, might have given in, but no longer. I kept my tone level, unwavering. She needed me when she was laughing about exploiting me. She needed me when she was trying to manipulate me. "I provided her with opportunities, Mom. She squandered every last one." There was a long pause. "Then I just don't get why you're being so insensitive." That hurt me, because the reality was I wasn't being unkind at all. I had finally started looking out for myself. However, those who gained from my inability to say no always perceive self-worth as coldness. "I'm not heartless," I murmured gently. "I'm simply finished." And this time I truly felt it. One day I went into my favorite coffee shop, prepared to write in my journal, a habit that had become ingrained. While I was getting my coffee, I listened to the woman ahead of me trying to pay but having trouble. Her card wouldn't go through. She dug through her purse, her face getting red with shame. Without considering it, I used my card on the machine. "On me," I said with a slight smile. She stared at me, shocked. "Seriously?" I nodded. "I know how it feels. It's all right." Her eyes began to fill with tears. "You have no idea how much this gesture means to me," she said quietly. "I just got away from a bad relationship. Today was meant to be my fresh start," and she paused, shaking her head. "You just made my entire day." I blinked, understanding something significant. For a long time, I'd been giving my kindness to those who didn't value it. But that didn't mean kindness itself was a bad thing. It simply meant I needed to be more selective. I needed to give it to people who would appreciate it. 3 months went by. Life felt good, tranquil. Then one night, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. I thought about ignoring it, but something inside me told me to answer. The instant I did, I regretted it. It was Danielle. She was crying. "Please, I need your help." I remained quiet. I had nothing left to give, she stammered. "My mom refuses to give me any money. My so-called friends abandoned me. I truly don't know what to do now." I shut my eyelids. This was precisely what she'd done to me year after year. She acted like she was the injured party. She exploited my feelings. She anticipated I'd drop everything and come to her rescue. But I wasn't that naive any longer. I murmured softly, "I'm sorry you're dealing with this." "But I can't help you," I stated. She took a sharp breath. "What, you're just going to leave me to suffer?" I responded. "You let me suffer," and that silenced her. I didn't say anything further. I just ended the call, and for the first time, I didn't feel guilty about my actions. That evening, I got together with the people who had become my real family. These were the friends who had stuck by me. They had never taken advantage of me, or played me, or made me feel like I needed to earn their affection. As we laughed during dinner, something became clear to me. Family isn't necessarily about who you share blood with. It's about those who support you, not just when they need something, but when you need them as well. Danielle and I shared the same birth family. However, that didn't obligate me to keep her in my life. Because sometimes the most caring thing to do is release the people who constantly inflict pain on you. And that's precisely what I did. For the very first time, I didn't have to tread carefully. I wasn't waiting for the next instance when Danielle would manipulate me. I didn't have any fear of being deceived, taken advantage of, or made fun of in secret. I felt liberated, and this independence was better than any phony connection I'd ever had. I put my energy into myself. I took up a new activity. I went on trips. I deepened the friendships that really counted. Above everything else, I quit feeling sorry for putting my own needs first. The months flew by, becoming a whole year. Danielle became a blurred memory, just another learning experience I'd had. I never looked for news about her. I didn't even think about what she was up to. Since for the first time, my contentment wasn't dependent on her. One night, as I sat enjoying the sunset, a thought drifted into my mind. If I could rewind time, would I change anything? And the answer was easy. No, because sometimes the individuals you believe are supposed to cherish you the most are actually the ones you need to distance yourself from. And once you do, that's when you discover genuine happiness.